Peace, everyone. It's BlackHighPriestess. So I wanted to take this time to do the third installment of my mistakes that good men make on Tinder and dating apps. A little mini series here, and this one I kind of saved for last because I figured it would take a lot of time. The way my camera works, I have a limited amount of length that I can do a one cut video. So make sure you check out part 0 and parts 1 that have been uploaded. With this one, being unprepared for real women, I thought it was a bit loaded, so I kind of wanted to dissect it a little bit. The first thing that I mean that a mistake that good men make when using dating apps, being unprepared for real women, this is, again, in the Black community, we have very different standards of beauty and ideals of what beauty is. And unfortunately, a lot of the standards of beauty in the Black community are not African aesthetics. They're Eurocentric aesthetics, or they're very mainstream aesthetics. And this has to do with the music and the type of media that is marketed and promoted to the Black community through having, Black, mostly brown, or, mulatto, or white people with tans and curly weaves and wigs passing as Black. That's what it's become. But, when you have Black actors and musicians and, even politicians sometimes, but, more so with entertainment, when you have Blacks representing these stereotypes to market that to the Black community, you get a hodgepodge of Blacks who are not marginalized to one demographic or one look or one culture even, but because Black Americans are marginalized in media so much, and in other facets, you have Black Americans marginalizing themselves instead of expressing real individuality, regardless of whether it is considered African or European or whatever. You have a lot of Black people going out of their way to be ghetto or wear clothes that will prove to other Black people that they are hip, or that they're down, or that they're real, or that they're from the street, or that they somehow represent and speak for the Black community. And it's very detrimental. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in white society, but with white society still being the standards in America, things are changing though. Things are definitely changing, but the way things are changing has not benefited Black people in the long run. We don't need all the shucking and jiving and all the nonsense, and we don't need white people monopolizing off of our struggles like they always have, and like we have seen in the last 3 years with this Black Lives Matter bullshit. We need to learn how to serve our God again, so we have the civilized humanity that we have lost in dealing with each other. Until we get that spirituality back and understand how to apply the Bible to how we deal with each other as Black people, making the Black dollar bounce and starting business and marrying Black and being pro-Black, all that stuff it's going to help us. Segregation is what Black people need, but we also need to know how to deal with each other too, because we are completely programmed to elevate white and to loathe ourselves and dealing with each other. And aside from the programming, a lot of blacks who have been active revolutionaries, actively creating solutions, actively fighting white supremacy in a lot of ways on the political front, with education, with holistic healing or spiritual healing, becoming doctors, lawyers, you know, chemists, you know, computer scientists, getting in these arenas that we need to start controlling, becoming directors, not just, you know, not just prostituting in front of the camera, but actually learning how to get behind the camera and call the shots so we can have more black media that makes us look great. Though those things, you know, basically that's the black revolution. And those of us who have been revolutionaries and black activists and and black politicians, for people in the political arenas from state to state, or, you know, even just from community to community, making a name for themselves in the political way, or, you know, doing things for the community that will make a political impact. That's great. But my point is, the real revolutionaries, those of us creating solutions, we're fed up with the niggers. We're fed up with being blocked by our own people. We expect white supremacy to not give us the funding. We expect white supremacy to not give us the platforms, or to not give us the venues or the spaces. But it's when we have to deal with our own people who are these COINTELPRO agents, who act like they're about helping the black people, or helping the black community, or elevating black women, or practicing African spirituality, or getting black kids a better education and better health and you know, technology and things like that. It's the ones who act like they're about something who stagnate those of us who bring the solutions that can be practical and applied. It's these organizations that every time a solution's created, or a solution is getting ready to be implemented, it's the black leadership that sabotages and gives everyone the runaround, and intentionally changes subjects into unproductive matters, when oftentimes the darkest, blackest, realest, wisest sisters, this is hardly the men, it's usually the darkest, realest, blackest, wisest sisters, are bringing the solutions, because it's the darkest, realest, blackest, wisest sisters who deal with the brunt of the problems. And we see that the leadership is bought out, or that we see the leadership is male chauvinist, or we see that the leadership is so inept and unqualified to be in the position that they have wiggled and wormed and weaseled their way into, often through fraternizing with secret societies of white supremacy and male domination. More importantly than the white supremacy aspect is the male domination aspect, which is why so many black men are finding themselves in prominent positions and will refuse to talk about spirituality and healing black women, because they are part of an organization and fraternity that is male dominated, and they are able to get into it because they agree to degrade and abuse and rape and toy with the sacred spirituality and femininity of the black woman that they're feeding off of. So, you know, it's getting kind of deep, but I really wanted to talk about what I mean by men being unprepared for real women, because this is heavy in the black community because of the, you know, the burdens put on black women to be beautiful and to meet certain standards of beauty and to look as white as you can, but, you know, be natural, because if you don't, you hate yourself and you're not pro-black. But you know what I'm saying, you know, don't, you know your worth, but only date black men, which is a complete contradiction, because any black woman who knows her worth usually it finds herself around men who are not black. If you're from where I'm from, or if you're from America in general, we understand how oppression has affected black men, and we act like it's not a real thing. But there's so much pressure put on black women, and there's no pressure put on black men at all whatsoever. And that's a loose statement from a female perspective. I understand that that's not the case for brothers who are creating solutions and doing all those things I talked about. You all are under a lot of pressure, but most black men are not doing anything for the black community or for black women. So there's no pressure on them because they have conformed to that hatred and white supremacist standards and their lifestyles. So, this pressure that's put on women, and the things that sisters have to deal with from our own men, it creates it creates defense mechanisms, it creates wisdom, it creates ambition to do the healing work. It really can invoke the womanhood in a sister, and it can, on the other hand, it can take away her innocence. So how does this relate to mistakes good men make on dating apps and being unprepared for real women? Starting with the black community and the standards of beauty, and that pressure put on sisters, the first thing I mean by real is, one, a woman whose beauty is not cosmetic. So, and I have some notes here. Hopefully I get to all of them. But the first thing I mean is, there is, and again, this, if it don't apply, let it fly, because it's not going to apply to everyone. This is in general, and this is based on the deeper spiritual roots of a person's look and appearance, and how, and connectedness to their self as an African, themselves as a woman, themselves as a human. When you're dealing with black women, if, I'll put it like this, and there's never just two of a kind, but for the sake of the topic, if you had to, let's say we're separating black women into two categories. We're going to start here. Black women who have fake hair or who wear weave, and black women who have their crowns, meaning their hair is real. And that gray area would be sisters who are wearing fake weave to transition to real hair, or women who have their real hair but they have it permed and they have it in a dead European look. They have their real hair, but they've killed the texture of it with chemicals and with perm. But for all intents and purposes, the first thing I mean by a real woman is a real woman and a real black woman. White men don't have a problem really relating in a sexual way. And when I mean sexual, I'm not just talking about sex and intercourse. I'm talking about male and female interactions. If it don't apply, let it fly. But white men tend to be very secure in their masculinity. Obviously, white men are very prominent all over the world, and have a lot of political power, a lot of financial power, a lot of defense, warfare, military power. And white men can represent themselves as the conquerors that they are, and the rulers and the leaders that they currently are. It's not that African men aren't, okay? But we understand white supremacy, right? So for the most part, white men are very confident in their masculinity when dealing with a black woman. Whereas, and I'll say white men tend to be very attracted to more African or Aboriginal looking, natural looking, real looking women in general, but especially black women. But I think there's this stereotype of, yeah, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. White men have jungle fever for black women, just like black men have jungle fever for white women. It's a man thing. It is what it is. Everyone has it. Women get it. Whatever. My point is, white men's taste in women. White men tend to have a different taste in women. They tend to like natural women. So white men will be very attracted to sexually and openly attracted to, oftentimes if they're not surrounded by a racist community, or a racist family, they will be attracted to Aboriginal, natural looking black women. The same type of women who oftentimes darker skinned black men will not choose based on his insecurity with his phenotype. Light skinned men love dark skinned sisters. In the same way that white men love real looking women, and that goes to real looking black women. Black men, if it don't apply, let it fly. But brothers, you all have been programmed to like fake women and to like little girlish type of women, meaning women who are, very childish, very immature, after, very fascinated with things and stuff and money, and your black men are kind of, in a way, programmed to lust after prostitutes, low class gold digging women who are, immature, not very talented, and willing to put out. And when you're trained, and when I say this, I'm talking about back to what I said earlier about the type of media and entertainment promoted to the black community, the way the women in these videos look. It's not across the board, but we've seen the stark changes over the decades of the type of women that are represented as beautiful or video vixens or the sexy women or the love interests in music videos and movies, paired with black men or rap videos and things like that. Every now and then you'll see a natural looking dark skinned sister, but for the most part you're looking at white women with tans, and you're looking at black women who are so bleached and Eurocentric looking, or you're not really looking at black women most of the time. You're looking at women who have white mothers oftentimes, and their father is a little black, or you're looking at the results of an interracial union, but you don't see black women anymore. And it has literally caused a huge gap in the way black men relate to real black women. Black men are, a lot of black men, it's like they're choosing either white women or the black women who are playing into that. And that whole natural movement, I'm noticing it's not a lot of sisters natural anymore. And there are sisters natural, but you gotta be in that kind of arena. When you're going out and it's more sisters weaved up. The difference now is black women's weave and fake hair is in the style of locks, in the style of braids, in the style of twists. So black women are still wearing weave, but because of the natural movement, black women are wearing fake hair in African styles or Caribbean styles, instead of just doing the Marilyn Monroe. And when we're talking about Little Kim and, you know, even Kim Kardashian, but we're talking about in Kim Kardashian, because how is she promoted to black people? Through Kanye West. He was one of the pioneers of getting black men to devalue black women with the song Gold Digger. And to this day, you see a lot of black women, if she's really even black, because most of them are not, these are not black women. Their mothers are not black. And that's how you determine whether you're black. What is the race of your mother? So you're looking at a lot of women who, because the heritage was diluted through having a white mother, she has no connection to African hair or African femininity. And you're looking at generations of actually black women whose mothers had no connection to African hair, African femininity, where they did not instill that in their daughters. They instilled going to the salon every week and spending hundreds of dollars that you could put into investing in something, into looking like a white woman. And the women who did that and played that were the women who got married by the brothers with good jobs. And the dark-skinned women who didn't play the white girl game, even though we're the ones who can talk like a white girl, but we don't get white girl privileges. Only the ones who look like a white girl and act like a gold-digging white woman. Marilyn Monroe. So nowadays, sisters are wearing fake African-style hair, you know what I'm saying, to look like what they think brothers want now, you know, and all of this it's you know, it's about being socially accepted. So black men widely are used to black women who do not accept themselves as beautiful. And, you know, I wanted to kind of go into, you know, again, if it don't apply, let it fly. But a lot of times, this new wave and this new trend of the blonde weaves and the Jezebel makeup, like the excessive makeup that even a movie star wouldn't need that much. But the amount of black women getting in front of the camera and doing makeup, it shows you how immature the mindset of black women is a lot of times. And again, black women are leading in education, you know, and leading in business and leadership positions. Look at Atlanta with black women in prominent, you know, good paying, you know, roles and things like that. So understand what I'm saying here. But a lot of those black women, no connection to their hair. None whatsoever. But when you get to the more ghetto black women, you know, or low class black women, you get the sisters who are into all that little girly stuff. And that's the cap of the black woman's immaturity. Playing with dolls, playing with toys, playing with boys, and playing with makeup. And so they, you know, often make careers out of beauty. It's childish. It's immature. It can be professional, but more than being professional, it's about the black woman's immaturity and inability to visualize herself in any other talent or skill set that's marketable. Being a hoe. So basically beauty is what? It's to attract and invoke the lust of a John. The things that black women are playing into: weave, makeup. Then we have the fake nails. Here's the thing about fake nails. The longer the nails, the worse the attitude of the woman a lot of times. And sometimes she can just be doing her thing, but we're talking about a woman who, you know, and here's the kick. And I like to talk about real sexuality because a lot of black women want to talk about sacred sexuality and this and that, and they don't know what they're doing or talking about, and they just becoming hoes and teaching each other how to be hoes. The longer your nails, ladies, especially single women, how are you getting yourself off? What is your connection to your physical body? When you get out of the bath or the shower, how are you anointing yourself with oil? With those long fake nails, how are you anointing your hair and your scalp and doing your hair and scalp, or that of your daughter or your communities? Or your man's? With those long fake nails, how are you able to sew and stitch and make your clothes? How are you able to do all the rigorous activities with your fingers required to make a good home cooked meal with your fake nails? How can you play an instrument? How can you do healing work? There's a lot of things you can do, but you have that fake barrier. So what's your relationship to the food that you're eating? And again, I'm talking about that low class ghetto type of, where it's like the longer the nails, you want to look like Cruella de Vil and everything like that because you think it's cute, and and you want to show how ghetto you are and how bougie, and I can be bougie and ghetto, and I can be bougie and ghetto. So my thing is, the longer the nails, the less virtue. If you're doing a photo shoot, you're doing a video shoot, you're doing something real quick, you got yourself done, and then you can go right back to womanhood. But this little girl prostitute, let me invoke the pedophilia of grown men who want to pay for sex attitude that comes with snuffleupagus eyelashes, a face full of makeup that you need an acid wipe to take off. Y'all look like the Joker. Y'all look like y'all fell in some acid. And, and the pride of, just the pride of doing it. There's no illusion behind it anymore. So you're taking away the glamour spell that women and Hebrew women did know how to use with certain things. The natural things that women did to dye our nails and dye our lips and cheeks. The natural things, the natural dyes that we use. It's not that makeup, especially good expensive makeup, is not more natural. There's mysteries to it. A lot of them come from, mermaid and siren glamour. Because remember, lipstick comes from fish scales. So there are real mysteries to it. But the pride of having that little girl attitude and that little girl look that Black women have, and that need to just dress urban and dress ghetto, and let me just that need to be urban all the time. It's very immature, and there can be a class level to it, because it's like, oh, these clothes are expensive, or it's by this designer, whatever. It's all ghetto bullshit. It's all ghetto. It's all ghetto. And if you're about that, and you like that, and that's your style, cool. But there's some things I'm trying to get at with this conversation. So I just want to hit all my notes. And so what I'm saying is, there's a difference between the attitudes, the mentality, and the spirituality of a woman who has natural hair, especially kinky, sacred spiraled crown, daughters of Zion. And there's a difference, of course, between the carbon concentration in a woman. She's going to have a different energy the darker she is, especially if her melanin's activated. It's not skin deep. It's about how activated you are in your womanhood through, accepting Christ. But, we'll get there. The hair, the makeup, and the fake nails, there's a difference in the attitudes and the mentality and the experiences of how women get treated when they, play the little pedophilia, gold digging Marilyn Monroe game, or when they play the I'm a grown woman and I really know my worth because I have embraced the beauty that I was born with. There is a huge difference between us and them. And until there isn't, okay? So like I said, if it don't apply, let it fly. But for the most part, a woman could be only so spiritual if she's has not embraced the temple that she is to be is serving in here and now. And that temple means her body, her phenotype, her culture, her heritage, you know. So what I mean is, when it comes to brothers not being used to real women, you're not used to the attitudes, the mentalities, you're used to those attitudes and those mentalities sometimes of women who wear too much weave, too much makeup, fake nails. Like I said, the longer the nails, the worse the attitude, the more Eurocentric she looks, or the more unnatural she looks. Because you can be a black woman and you can have natural straight hair and be dark like an Eskimo or like a Indian. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's more about the more Eurocentric you look, or the more fake or unnatural, too much makeup, fake hair, fake nails, loud, attention drawing clothes that don't represent African culture, but more so represent Black American hood culture. Huge, not huge difference, but there is a difference between taking pride in being ghetto and taking pride in having African roots and knowing your heritage as a slave descendant. It's a huge difference. So, again, the more Eurocentric and the more natural she looks, the worse that attitude of entitlement can be, based on efforts to look like a gold digger or the prostitute that she's portraying, which again is back to the black Marilyn Monroes, the sisters, sisters who have real hair, real nails, real beauty, and real bodies, and we're okay with our real body, and we're okay with aging and maturing, in a natural way. We're different because we're not living in this hip hop wives, fantasy of I have, it's the fantasy and it's that allure, but it's a facade. And we don't live in that. We're very grounded in the reality of who we are and how painful it really is to be a black woman. And what you see a lot of times is black women doing everything to mask the pain that she would otherwise experience and have to embrace if she dared to be real, and keep it real. This